An all too familiar scene across our global television screens, but with one meaning: the total destruction of one of the Earth's most valuable and fragile natural resources, tropical rainforest.
So, what's new, you may say? You've probably heard it all before. It's all we ever seem to hear about these days.
And if it's all getting a bit boring, well, remember, while you're being bored to death back home, the forests are being sawed to death across the tropical world in locations like this.
We love the forest. There's birds out there. There's animals that we eat. All kinds of animals. Wild pigs, big birds, small birds. And they're dying out too. And it looks like we are dying people. When all of this is gone, I don't know what will happen.
What could happen is a global catastrophe. As the forests are destroyed, so carbon dioxide levels increase, and global warming, the greenhouse effect, looms on the horizon. One effect of this could be rising sea levels, flooding low-lying tropical islands like these, destroying even more rainforest and compounding the problem.
The problems threaten to drown us all. More gloom, more doom. I can hear you saying, when is the news going to start getting better? OK, there's a light on the horizon. After years of campaigning by countless voluntary bodies, by scientists, by local people, and by dedicated journalists, television producers and presenters, at last the message is getting through. Environmental legislation is getting tighter. Rules pertaining to pollution and habitat destruction are getting stronger. Road companies have been brought to book, and even great international corporations and national governments are thinking greener and greener. And not before time too.
And on this new horizon, one development agency is helping overseas governments to set a new green course for the future. The British Overseas Development Administration, the ODA. With operations in over 120 countries and an annual budget of over £1.4 billion, the ODA plays a key role in aiding initiatives intended to attack poverty and protect fragile local environments. The ODA works by helping people to help themselves. It has many partners: governments, voluntary bodies, aid agencies and scientists. But its most important partners are those who take part in development at the local level, the people themselves. This film is about the environmental work of the ODA, about development projects which involve planning and planting a common future. In other parts of the world, the ODA supports environmental projects which don't just involve trees and plants, but fish and other animals. These remarkable coral reefs in the Solomon Islands of the South Pacific are home to some of the Earth's richest underwater plant and animal communities. was in this part of the world that the native people practiced a form of ritualised recycling. It was all based on the handing on of shells from group to group, from island to island. Perhaps in 200 years they came back to the original hand. Now this tradition was known as the cooler. All social relationships and economic practices revolved around the cooler because it was based on a basic principle, a principle of exchange. If you took something, you gave something back. Now this principle applied as much between people and nature as it did between people and people. But the cooler has gone, replaced by a worldwide imbalance between development and the environment. But the aid agencies in the South Pacific recognise the need to restore that balance and have been devising projects that work on the principle that for everything you take out, something must be put back. In fact, a new kind of cooler, economic development with conservation in mind. And indeed, out on these reefs off the coast of Guadalcanal, the new cooler can be seen in action. It involved, quite simply, overseas aid being converted back into shells. Big ones. Tridacna geiger, the giant clam. I'm standing on the reef flat, which not only protects the land from erosion, but is also home to these giant sea creatures. Today, these reefs aren't what they were in the past. Overfishing and pollution have taken a massive toll, destroying intricate balances of this vast living system. And the giant clam, well, it's become a giant catastrophe, extinct over large areas of Pacific reef. One aid project recently set up to reverse this is the International Giant Clam Culture Project. This is supported by a large number of international agencies, with staffing and equipment partly provided by the ODA. It's a case of aid giving the people of the South Pacific and the giant clam a hand. Not mine. Of course, giant clams don't eat people. In fact, it's been found that these don't really eat anything at all. Oh yes, in the ocean they may be filter feeders, filtering their food from the water, but kept in these tanks, as long as there's enough sunlight, they can live and grow, because in that wonderful mantle, a tiny little plant called zooxanthellae, which can fix the energy of the sun and turn it into sugars which help to feed the clam. And so this is potentially the only farm animal in the world that you don't have to feed. It's a slow and painstaking process. It will be another 5 years before the living clam larvae become in any way gigantic. Meantime, the little clamlets are planted back in the ocean, in these special cages which will help protect them from predators. Hopefully all predators. Some of the lucky ones then go on a long sea voyage, destined for remote Solomon Island settlements, where they will become part of a valuable grow-out or This part of the giant clam project requires keen local participation. Hugh Govan from the BSO is the village's link with the big clam base.
4 kg blue. The small one, 6 months. No more. Some fella.
Yeah.
Small winning more category.
The little clams are looked after by the villagers on the local reef. They will end their days either as reef wild stock further out to sea or on the village supper table. But what do the villagers think of the scheme? Village headwoman Mrs. Toto.
Hemi good one, eh?
Yeah?
Yeah. Also, me say hemi good because hemi first time I got people, I got looking, so I got start for interest lo him too.
Yeah.
Even some people lo outside lo place Bellamy fella, I got come looking, I got want them start them too. This kind of project lo place Bellamy.
A new dimension for a sustainable lifestyle, as Hugh Govan explains.
It's critical for the success of the project for the people to actively take part. If they're not keen on the idea, if they can't be bothered or anything like that, then we can all run around and do miraculous things, but we'll never get anywhere. It's up to them to actually do the final bit and keep clams on their reefs and look after the resource.
ICLAM director is marine biologist Dr. John Munro. John believes that the clam project could even put the Solomon Islands into the International Good Food Guide.
There are good indications that we can, if we have large amounts of product available from commercial sources, that we will find markets in Japan, elsewhere in Southeast Asia, in Europe and America. For example, you can make very good American-style clam chowder out of giant clams. The islanders have always used the clam as a food source. These days, many groups actually conserve their clams. They save them for occasions such as Christmas or any other festive occasion because they realize that their stocks are limited. And most of the interest that we have in giant clam farming now comes from islanders who are primarily interested in restoring the stocks on their reefs, hopefully stopping this drift towards extinction and offering income-earning opportunities to islanders at the same time.
It's bounty all the way. Cordon bleu food stock from the sea for generations to come. And a threatened reef species will be saved from extinction. All in a good day's work with the ODA in a wonderful tropical paradise. Another global export for which this part of the world is famous is tropical hardwood. For centuries, the local people have cut timber for their own uses. But now the timber brings in vital cash needed to support island commerce, administration, health and welfare programs. The trouble nowadays is that intense pressure from loggers is leading to the much more rapid depletion of the pristine rainforest that remains. If there is no replanting, there will be no wood for future generations, an economic time bomb for cash-poor countries like the Solomons. But more dangerous is the potential ecological time bomb. With the tree cover gone, the thin soils of these steep slopes will just slip away into the rivers.
Now, one effect of deforestation is this, the increase of silt load in the rivers and streams. Of course, it adversely affects the river life, the fish and all the plants and animals which feed them, and affects water quality for drinking lower down. And of course, the silt doesn't stay put in the rivers, but flows on down to the sea.
It's very important to get the balance right, because what happens in the rainforest acutely affects what happens down on the shore and beyond. The silt which results from rainforest destruction inland kills the offshore coral reefs. But there's some good news at hand. The aid agencies are alert to the dangers of deforestation and are supporting government-led projects which plan for the future by planting new trees in plantations. This new forest vision is being tried and tested on the remarkable volcanic island of Columbanga. The Solomon Islands Forestry Division, with help from the ODA, are preparing an old plantation site for a positive new program of fast-growing tropical hardwood. There'll be protection for the sensitive natural forest on the steeper slopes, and in time the government will achieve new peaks of export earning and job creation. The wildlife will find a refuge in strips of mixed forest planted to protect the soil and provide a vital buffer zone between the new plantations and the delicate life of the reef. Trade and care for the environment, it all comes back to the cooler. The future of the developing world, our common future, lies in initiatives where economy and environment come together, where what you take out is replaced by what you put back in. That's the new Aid Horizon, part of the common environmental awareness and commitment by the ODA and its partners in development.
I've been in the conservation business for almost 30 years, and only now with projects like these do I see the emergence of a truly conservation economy. Local sustainable development, rainforest protection, reef conservation, rays of sunshine in a very troubled world. And they're just a start. There's many more such projects on the way, each one helping us to plant a future. Suddenly the world